Good morning, everyone. This is Vern Schellinger from Higher Moment Mastermind, co-host with Shira Lotzar, who is now at a conference. So I will be hosting the session this morning, and I'm ready, and hopefully there's Elke, will be joining us. He's should be coming in soon, and we're here to answer any of your job search questions. Elke, I guess he's still connecting to audio, So who's got a question?
I've
Deborah?
got one. Yeah, it's an Alky's on, so you can hear it. So my question, and this is related to strategy for my search. So as background, I was in retained executive search. I have been planting lots of seeds there, started with the firms that were most like the firms I've been in, gradually branching out, but I'm not finding a lot of positions. So I'm continuing to plant seeds, see what's there, but I'm also saying I need to start figuring out other jobs, other industries I can look at. So my question for you guys is, when I'm in that position where it's like what I came out of, I may not find a job in that industry. I'll keep doing diligence, but I want to start exploring other options or paths. How do I smartly and strategically go about this? Like starting to identify new buckets and make a pivot. Like if you were in my shoes and I'm thinking about that, like how do you start going about that, like making a pivot in a smart way that will get me a job? Because that's the end prize.
Okay. So I have a couple of thoughts, and I'm sure Elke has some comments on this. One of the first things I would do is and I'm going to talk about networking. I would reach out to the people that know you the best, people you've worked with before, that you have a really good relationship with, and just say the same thing you just said, and ask them, what do you believe some of my real strengths and skills are, and talk to 3 or 4 or more people about that, and then sit back and reflect on that. And if you agree that these are the skills, and this is really what I bring to any position that I'd be in, whether it's in retained search or whether it's in an big organization, nonprofit, whatever, and then you try to start to do the research. Okay, where can you find jobs that match up with those skills and expertise? And that's the path then you try to go down in terms of, let's suppose it's nonprofits. Well, there's positions within nonprofits, X type of positions, and they're a good match for my skills. So start the network in the nonprofit world, start to go to connect with people if they know people in the nonprofit world where they might be able to alert you to opportunities there. So that's my 2 cents. Elke, you got some thoughts there?
And I know I came at the end. You're talking about making a pivot because you're not having much success in your search, right? Your current search.
I'm considering having more buckets in my search, making a pivot, because the industry I come out of, it's not really doing that well. There's not a lot of jobs doing what I was doing. So I'm kind of starting to say I'm putting right now most of my seeds in that industry, but I want to start smartly thinking about what are some other places I could be planting seeds.
Mm-hmm. And remind me again what you said you were working in retained search, doing what?
So I was a project manager, project coordinator in an executive search firm. So I did not do recruiting directly, but I supported recruiters and consultants.
I'm happy to talk offline too, because it pushes a lot of my buttons, especially the intrigue of working in retained search. A lot of people probably don't believe sometimes how tough it is, even in the recruitment world, to find another move. But yeah, there is that number one, the project coordinator, anything that touches project stuff, that spans across so many different industries. So many people have a need for that, a use for that. Sometimes it's the rewording the title of what you're looking for, but same skill set. And that word Vern used, match, is the most important thing, is really looking at everything that you have in your background that matches elsewhere. There's so many things from, you know, project point of view that can be transferable to so many different industries and different titles. But yeah, I have people reverse engineer their search, reverse engineer their resumes, reverse engineer their presentation. Because, you know, if you keep trying the same thing over and over again, definition of insanity if that's not working. So sometimes you flip it on its head, you turn it on its side, you turn it the other way. And there's so many different ways to go about that pivot. But to Vern's point, I would start thinking about, okay, let me just list the top 5 or 7 things that I'm really good at, that I've really been good at, that I'm really strong in, and I'm really successful, and lead off with that first, and then kind of just take a deep breath and then just start thinking, okay, what are the types of jobs, number one, titles that could use this skill set? And then, well, what kind of industries would I be interested in doing that? And that's getting back to, you know, your lane and all those types of things that Shira talks about all the time. But yeah, I would kind of stop the search, pause for a second, and just go, okay, who am I? What have I done? What have I accomplished? What achievements have I done in my past the best? And lift those off your resume, put them on kind of a blank sheet of paper, and build from there. And you're talking to somebody who made a pivot, who worked in, you know, 15 plus years in the nonprofit space on the program side. And then I went back to school and I became a recruiter. And a lot of those things transferred. It wasn't an easy transition though, not at all, but it took a while. But once I got that first job, but yeah, it was really tough trying to present myself new to people. But the thing that Vern said a second ago, people could see the skills that I had though. They could see them, and they were more excited than me. It didn't happen as fast as they said it would. But they were like, "Oh yeah, you'll be a great recruiter. Look at this. Look at that you've done. Look at that skill. Look at that skill. You've done this. You've done that." So people can see it. It's just a presentation and getting that interview and convincing the, you know, folks. You know what? We'll give you an interview. So I'm happy to actually talk to you a little bit more offline about pivot. It's actually something I enjoy talking about, making a pivot or just re-looking at yourself in a different light.
Yeah. And the other thing, Deborah, that when, you know, you talked about project management. So again, from a networking standpoint, is there anybody in your network that, you know, is in a project manager position, or do they know someone in a project management position? Again, talk to them, find out, you know, tell me about your job. What's your job like? What's an average day look like for you? What are the types of things you do? And then calibrate that against, yeah, I can do that, or I've done something like that, right? So that's just going to give you confidence that, you know, there are potential opportunities out there for your skill set. You just, as Elke said, it's a big shift. So it's a tough road because, you know, Shira says this all the time, you know, employers are risk averse. Well, we're in retained search and we're a nonprofit. And what do you know about nonprofits? And you know, so,
yeah.
So
that's true. And I'm laughing because I could say, like, I feel like sometimes with my nonprofit clients, I saw the inside, I saw the real them, like not the shiny, you know, I saw the good or the bad, but yeah, it's helpful. And I'd say one thing I have done, like, because I realized like I have an interest in talent development, and this has been really low pressure for me. I said, find 5 connections and just tell them, hey, I'd like to have a conversation. And I have loved that because that's given me insight. And it was like a low pressure thing for me. I'm just like, I just want to talk to you about your career.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of my first thought was, before you pivot elsewhere, my first thought was, okay, you've been in retained search, so you know the whole talent process. You know what finding candidates, matching candidates, and all of that. You know that if I was to pick you up from retained search, drop you in HR, recruitment, drop you in a staffing firm, some other place, there are so many places that could keep you in talent. Actually, you're just changing the jersey. You're just changing the jersey that you're wearing from retained search to other forms of talent. And then next thing you know, that could open the world up to, you know, human resources and talent, training talent, talent development, which is full of projects all the time. They're always working on projects. So there's a lot of different pivots you can do. It's kind of like Wheel of Fortune, just spin the wheel in a different direction and you can land on a lot of different other things.
Right. Anyone else? Any other questions?
As recruiters, do you guys look at LinkedIn recommendations? I just secured my first one and I've been asking for recommendations. It felt really horrible to do it. Like, but I got my first one and I feel like that's a success. But how insistent should I be that my LinkedIn profile have recommendations?
I would say that it certainly cannot hurt you to get recommendations on LinkedIn. You know, it's one thing for you to say, I'm really good at XYZ, but from a recruiter standpoint, and Helke, jump in here. I mean, I would think, you know, when a recruiter's looking at that, you can say you're really good at you know, XYZ, but if there's 2 or 3 recommendations, testimonials to the fact that you really are good, you know, and this is a different, you know, this is a third party saying, you know, or a specific example where you used the skill and got these outcomes. I think, you know, that certainly could, that cannot hurt you in your job search at all. So, and not only recruiters, but again, you know, HR people are, you know, from, you know, they're recruiting too, and they're not external recruiters, they're internal recruiters, but they're certainly looking at a LinkedIn profile when they get to the, you know, interviewing stage in preparation for the organization to interview you. Elke? Yeah.
Fully agree. To your direct question, Gina, there's so many different uses. I'll take a quick tangent and then I'll circle back, but a little known secret or recruiting tactic, and I was just talking, you know, about Deborah's situation, you know, and I'm not speaking to yours, but there's a lot of people who are like, been in the job search for 6 months, not getting anything. Without a resume, you could have 10 recommendations on LinkedIn from 10 different types of people, former managers, someone at your level that you met at a networking conference who just thought, you know, you knew a lot about a certain subject, clients. And if you mix that up and diverse, that could be your resume. Without a resume, I'm sorry, Alexa's jumping in here too to chime in. I could come across you and just scroll your LinkedIn profile, but down at the bottom, like to Vern's point, it's other people saying it. So if I see 10 people saying, she really helped us out of a jam, most loyal employee I've ever managed, best coworker I've ever had, always on time. Like by the time you get 3, 4, 5 different people saying that, it's credibility. And they're like, I need to check her out. She does something good if everybody else is seeing it. It's not her profile. It's not her resume. It's not her self-bragging. This is other people who are validating she's legit. And so how we use it as recruiters, I sometimes, if I'm looking at a profile and I'm like, this person's really good, and I see they have recommendations, I may browse it and just see who's saying it. So if I'm looking and seeing some of those people, or a CEO or a VP, if I'm a VP looking to hire or a recruiter, I'm saying, okay, if the VP is saying that she did good work, I can trust that because I would be presenting her to the VP, who's the hiring manager, or the VP is going to be signing off on it. So VPs look at what other VPs say, CEOs look at what other CEOs say, and so on and so forth. So I think that every person on LinkedIn, if you can, you should have at least 3 or 4 recommendations that speak about what you do, because that's kind of if somebody's on the fence, like, she looks good. Oh, they said that about them. Okay, I'm going to give her an interview. It's kind of like that. It's again, reverse. I don't know if that's why that's my word today, but it's like, it's the equivalent of, all right, let me see your references. It's seeing the references up front or during the process. So I would actually, if I was in the job search and I was looking, especially if, you know, things weren't happening, I would go and just think of anybody that I work with. And I know you said it felt kind of weird. I would let people know, listen, I'm in the job search, as part of my toolkit. I would love, if I've done some work and you have some good things to say, I'd love to have a recommendation from you to help me on my job search and get, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those things.
Other thoughts? Other questions? All right, I'm just handling a technical issue here. There's someone on the line that's a friend of someone who used to work for me. And I don't know how this happened, but instead of seeing his name, I'm seeing my name underneath so I'm emailing him and I can't seem to email him directly. So everybody's going to get the same message here. So, you know, welcome, Rich.
I'm here. Can you hear me, Vern?
I can hear you, Rich. Okay.
Okay, good.
Okay. But like I said, for some reason, and maybe because Shira made me the host and I'm not sure, you know, exactly what's going on here with Zoom, but I'm seeing my name underneath your, you know, your video. So, so Rick Katz.
Well, yeah, welcome. I'm actually on the road. I pulled over to do this, so it could be a, you know, problem with the phone or whatever.
All right, Rick, you want to tell us
Yeah,
just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Rick Katz. I've been in sales pretty much my whole life. Mostly energy efficiency. I sell electricity. Had a long storied career. I sold my business about 3 years ago. I sold out to my partners. I continue to be a consultant, but on my own. And I'm finding at this point, there's a couple things. I want to get back out there with a team, with people working with. I always had people working with me, for me. And so I've done this search. I've met with Bob a few times. We're old buddies. We coached the kids together and known each other for years. And he suggested I look at this podcast. I've done everything that you guys have talked about and then some. I've reached out. You know, I have a huge network, but nothing so far has stuck. I've had interviews. I actually have a second interview today at a company. So yeah, I was just talking to Bob yesterday or a couple of days ago, and he told me all about you and how much he respects you and a little bit about your background. So I said, let me join this and see if I can grab a few nuggets out of it, if you will.
Okay. Well, welcome, Rich. We're glad you're here. We're glad, I'll thank Bob for recommending you here. This is, again, a free Zoom call every Friday from 9:15 to about 10:15, 10:30. This Higher Moment Mastermind was created by Shira Lotzar, who is the founder of this program. And I've been her co-host for a long time, and Shira and I go way back to, 20 years ago. So we're just here to answer, as you can see, if you've been listening, anybody's questions about anything related to the job search. In terms of your job search, what do you have a kind of a specific target that are you trying to get into an organization, or you're trying to get with a consulting company, or what's the ideal job that you're kind of looking for?
That's a great question, Vern. If you saw my resume, I've owned many businesses in my career. I've started many businesses. Entrepreneurship has been in my family. It's what I love. But, there comes a time in your life where you say, all right, I don't need to be an entrepreneur anymore. I just want to find a place, help that company, help myself make a living, obviously. Yeah. I've always been successful. I've gotten into things that I never even knew about till I got into it. I had a sunroom company for 15 years. I went into the energy business without a clue, built that business up to a huge business and sold it. And I really thought at that time I was kind of good for a while. I knew I'd have to do something. I've reached out to every person you could possibly imagine. Being in the same area my whole life, I know lots of people, politicians. I do a lot of business with cities. And so I know the mayors and I know, all kinds of people. I have no problem getting referrals or any of that stuff. It's just this, I've never done this in my life. Okay. I always went out and got it myself. And so it's kind of new to me. Maybe when I'm on an interview, I might learning as I go. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said this. But being a sales guy, I say what I think I need to say to close the deal, if you will. And so I'm learning. And one thing that's really helped me, Vern, is my son went to Union College, and so did I. If you ever heard of Union College.
I've heard of Union College. I know where it is.
Okay, good. Yeah, so his roommate from college has been in recruiting his whole life, since he graduated. And we're really close. He's like another son to me. He's been a recruiter, and I finally called him up and I said, listen, help me. Help me with the basic stuff, the framework. What do I need to do? He's kind of taken over my situation for me in terms of, the brick and mortar. Okay. I put a resume together. I've done everything that he told me to do. I get offers on LinkedIn all the time to speak with people. Just having it. Now he said this can take 6 to 8 months. So I'm not giving up yet. I never give up. I'm a fighter. But I was talking to Bob. He always checks in on me, and I said, people that I thought this job is definite. I've got a relationship with this person. I've got a relationship with this person. For whatever reason, I don't get the job. And a friend of my childhood friend is the president of Eversource. I figured, oh, perfect. So I applied for a few project manager jobs. But is it possible there's ageism involved? I mean, I'm not young anymore.
Yeah, ageism.
I don't know.
Ageism is a real thing. And what you're experiencing, Rick,
learning.
what you're experiencing, Rick, is no different than, when you were 25 or 35 or 45, the first time anybody goes through the job search, it's a whole different world. It's just it's a different experience than any other experience you've ever had. And as you said, there's things that you have to learn. There's skills and behaviors that you normally wouldn't, use at all or never have used in your jobs. And so it's 6 to 8 months is not unreasonable. My first job search took me 10 to 11 months before I landed a job. And the longer it goes, the more frustrating it is. It's an emotional roller coaster up and down. So just rest assured that what you're going through is pretty normal for most people that are going through this. It's not a fun experience. It's not a great ride.
No,
but it is what it is.
I understand that. Yeah, okay. I understand that. I just, I've always been a competitor. I played sports. I played football in college. I'm not afraid of anything. But again, it's the first time you do something, it's not easy.
No. Okay.
And so I've been reaching out to everyone. I've already, all the steps that you're supposed to do, I've done. Okay. I'm just waiting for something to click.
All right.
And so I thought, let me meet Vern. I heard a lot about him and see if he has any, magic. I guess there's no magic here.
I wish I had the magic pill, Rick. I'd be a very rich man right now.
Yeah.
Elke, you have anything to add?
Well, pleasure to meet you, Rick.
Nice to meet you.
I think the number one thing that I've recruited, especially over the last 7 and 9 years, has been sales. And you're probably being typecast. That happens a lot, but you're probably being typecast in a lot of different ways. A lot of people are, which is, you talked about, you're putting a resume together, but you've had this long career. You've been an entrepreneur, and sales. Just those three alone, for certain people, when you walk in the door, that could go in a lot of different ways. Some people can say, hey, charismatic, charisma, can sell everything. He's very bold. Other people can say, yeah, aggressive. He may potentially know too much. He's owned his own company. He's at this stage. what could I teach him? What could I train him? No, we don't have a role like that for you. And how long, would you be here with us? So there's a lot of typecasting that could potentially be happening. I was glad to hear that you have your son who's a recruiter in your back pocket. And I would say use him because he could probably get you indoors and some of the side doors. And as a salesperson, I would probably say that too. You already know how to sell, like you said. In this case, you're selling yourself, but I would say you actually don't need to sell as much. You're more, I think, if I had to offer any suggestions, would be thinking about all that you've done, flip it around and say, what if I was at the table and saw me coming in for an interview and listening to the things that I said? How would I think about this person? You'd probably say, oh, I'd hire him in a minute. But with the typecasting that does happen, it is a strange world for someone. And I've been there too, where I've done a lot of my own things during the years. And then a couple of times I've taken real jobs. I oftentimes, hiring managers, especially when they see entrepreneur or any type of, that on your resume, a lot of them slice you away right away, because they can't get out of their head, wait a minute, he's a business owner. There's no way he's going to stay here or want to stay here and be an employee. So maybe one thing is to take a look at your resume and your background, and don't delete yourself, but repurpose the language. Maybe not boasting as much on your resume, the ownership, but your accomplishments and achievements. As a matter of fact, you may want to just rescript your resume from the traditional one that shows the businesses you've owned during that time, and do more of a one sheet of leadership, sales accomplishments, different arenas and industries that you've been in. And then what we talk about a lot on this call is your value and how it could help someone else. And then start presenting that. And it's more of a mindset of, okay, my search is no longer a job search. Sure, I'm going to get a job. Let me offer all these years of business and leadership and sales and experience, and see who bites. Let's see who can use someone like me, because that's what it is at this point. And for a lot of consultants too, it's really hard to find traditional jobs. So it's more about selling your value and what you can offer them from all of your years of experience, as opposed to, hey, look at this company that I led a whole company.
Right.
Surely you can use me. It's more, here's skill set, here's accomplishment, here's knowledge base, and then present that and see who bites.
Right. So I actually, the Union College connection again, a girl that I went to school with, she's a resume job person type thing. And I reached out to her. I've been getting on the resume that we put together, A's and A pluses from everyone that reads it. So she did and everything that you said is how we made the resume. Really got into growth of companies, sales of companies, success of companies, selling the companies for a profit and things like that. We really concentrate, and it is only one page. I wanted to keep it as quick as, because I do know if I was sitting in that seat, they might look at the first paragraph and, it's kind of like college admissions, right? Half the people just get thrown in the garbage, at the beginning, and then they start sifting through. And I'm just trying to get to that next stage where I can speak with someone, because if I can speak with someone, I think I have a better chance.
Yeah.
But yes, my resume, hopefully, maybe I'm not even sure what you guys. I'm learning as we go this morning. This was like a last minute thing from friend Bob, and I'd love to have someone look at it at some point and give me their thoughts. But like I said, even my recruiting friend, it's not my son, it's his roommate from college, said this is fantastic, and he sees them all day long.
Okay. Well, Rick.
So.
Rick, I don't know if you can see, I did put my email address in the chat, and I don't know if you can see that or not, but if you can't, just reach out to Bob, and Bob has my email address, and send me your resume, and I'm happy to take a look at it and, give you my thoughts. So.
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
My resume is on my LinkedIn, but I'll send it to you directly.
Yep. Okay.
And I appreciate everything, guys.
Well,
I don't feel as bad as I did when I started this call, believe it or not. It's only been 20 minutes. So You
Well,
did a
we're
good
all-
job for me. Thank you.
Yeah, we're all here to help one another. And again, like I said, the job search process it's one of the, and I've said this a lot on the call, but I'll share it with you, Rick. One of the things about the job search process that is most frustrating for people is that, if you look back on your career and you look at one of those accomplishments, you can know that, we created this goal, we put this budget in place, we're going to implement this program in 6 months. And I could ask you, if I was your boss, I could say, Rick, where are we? And you can say, we're on budget, we're on time, we got this problem, we're going to get it fixed this way. You could give me a status report and tell me how close you are to actually launching the product or the service and the time that we agreed to. In the job search process, if I said, when are you going to get a job, Rick? Here's the goal. The goal is pretty clear. When are you going to get it? When are you going to finish this? You have no idea.
Mhm, mhm.
It could be tomorrow.
You sound like my wife, Vern.
Well,
Sorry, guys. I can't help myself.
it,
When you get a job, I said, you haven't tried to get a job in years. This is not easy.
yeah. Well, what I'm saying to you is not from your wife's standpoint, but this is the reality of it, and this is one of the things that drives job seekers nuts, because again, you could get a call. You like you say, you've reached out to lots of people. One of them could call you tomorrow and say, Rick, I got a job, or I got an interview for you, or here's where you should go, and you could land a job in the next couple of weeks. It might be 3 months from now before that happens. You just don't know. So, and that's just such a different mindset. It's such a different experience for all of us as adults trying to find a job, trying to find something that will match our skills and experience, and we feel good about, and we can add value.
Yeah.
It's
If somebody, I'm sorry, if I can get a chance for somebody to really get to know me, I think that would help. But, again, you're talking to the first recruiter. I mean, sometimes I talk to a recruiter, I'm on a Zoom call and they seem like they're falling asleep. And I know it's not me.
Yeah, I wouldn't think
I'm exaggerating a little bit. But that first phase, they're working from home. Maybe the cat's running around in the background, and these are all new things for me. So I'm learning as I go, and I'm going to keep pushing along. I never quit.
Yeah, what Vern was saying, I was going to ask you. I won't ask you now because maybe we can email offline too. Is not getting feedback. That's what I was curious about too. Is what the feedback has been for the calls, the interviews, the meetings that you've had. And I probably would tweak my job search to using your network, not, hey, who has a job, but hey, take a look at, me, you know what I've done. What do you think I'd be good at? Do you know any companies, or can you keep your eye out for opportunities that might fit the background that I've done? Or who do you know who could probably use someone like me, but not for a title? Like if I was working with you with your background, I'd probably toss all of that to the side for a second and do what you just said. Let me get to know you first. You've done a lot. Let me listen and see who you are. And then I'd probably just sit back and start thinking, okay, this isn't a job title that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a placement of a company, a person that I know who could use someone like him. It's not even a title, because titles at this point for you, I could find a few, but the average typical job title and search for you, I probably wouldn't even suggest you look. It's good to look to see what's out there, but I probably wouldn't even go that route. You have a vast network, mayors and politicians and all of them. In that are opportunities and trust, because they know you, that could probably get you in the door quicker than if you sat there and applied over and over and over again. So I'd probably have a longer conversation with you just about, all right, let's talk about this vast network you have and who you know, and just using it in a way that gets you closer to an opportunity. Applying, like you mentioned, some of the recruiters who are out there, and I've interviewed with people in the past who were recruiters who had 2 years, and I already had 8 or 9, and I'm like, all right, I'll let her interview me, but she's only been doing this for 2 years, so you're going to run into a lot of that as well. So, but anyway, chat with Vern, and
Thank you.
I'll add my info as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, any
So
other?
Deborah, don't feel bad. I'm going through the same thing as you are.
Well, and,
You'll make,
and I
you'll be fine. I can already see it in your eyes. You're going to be fine.
and Rick, I wanted to tell you, like as you were talking, my story, and Vern knows part of this. I was in a long job transition during COVID, and I'm back in job transition, not a space I wanted to be. But one of the things I look back with nostalgic is everything I learned professionally and how much I grew by being put in the role of being a job searcher, which is a job I never wanted. But I look back on that and I'm like, I developed skills. I met amazing people. And, to be fully transparent, I had to go out this morning because I woke up with my mom calls a dirty, rotten attitude. And I'm like, Deborah, I got to go to Starbucks. I got to get myself in the right spot. But that's something though, when I'm in the having that where it's like, flip it. And then I come home and I'm like, okay, I've got to focus on here's what I control. And I realize this in my job search. Like if I am employed at work, I don't have time to sit and overthink everything. I had work to get done.
Yeah.
And that's where I sometimes get up today. And I'm like, this is what I have to get done. So it's one of these, like, I can't wait till I land. I can't wait until the season's over. But I'm also really glad for what being a job seeker has taught me.
Yeah, it's certain, as Rick
Thank you.
already said, it's a learning experience, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I guess the biggest stress of all, I know I'm going to find something. The biggest stress of it all is the time.
Yeah.
And, with time, that means money, right? And we all want to work and love our job, but we need to get paid at some point. So even for me, I've got a lot of projects that I'm doing independently through my old company and different people that I know, but I mean, you know what? I need to be in something all in, 100%. You know what I mean? Not half. That's when I prosper. And I think that's what we're all looking for, is a home. And, to prove people. I did have an interview, which is my second interview today. A big, the big guy in the company, not the recruiter. And I'm kind of excited, a little bit nervous for it today, but they made me do a behavioral assessment. Guys have all done those?
Oh yeah.
They ask you, they ask you, and that's the first one I ever did. I was a nervous wreck. And I started looking at all the answers. It was kind of like, check the box. You this, you that. And what came back, from what I recall, is I'm a controller. I like to take control of things. Now, that might have been a good thing because I got the second interview.
Yeah.
But first, when I saw controller, I'm like, is controller good or bad? I guess that's the old guy thing,
That depends on there's so many assessments out there. It depends on the assessment, and it depends on why the organization is using that particular assessment. And
right.
It's something you don't know. The one thing I would say in the interview is make sure at the appropriate time you ask the question and this is one of the things that Shira and I talk about, and Elke talks about all the time. Interviews are not a one-way street. Interviews need to be a two-way street, and you have, as the interviewee, as much right to ask questions of them as they do you. Now, you've got to ask the questions at the appropriate time, but I would say 3/4 through the interview, or certainly before the end of the interview, you asked them, or whoever you're interviewing with, what does success look like in this job? If you were to hire me and 6 months from now, you said I was the best at XYZ that you've ever had, what would cause you to say that? Now, depending on who you're interviewing with, if this is kind of a first level interview with a junior HR recruiter, that person's probably not going to be able to answer that question. But if you're interviewing with, either someone who's on the team or the hiring manager directly, they better be able to answer that question. And you listen to the answer very closely and then think about, okay, if success looks like this, then your response can be, well, I'm glad to hear you say that. Everything you just said are things that I've accomplished in my career. Let me give you one example. Don't go on, but just confirm with them. If you say this is what success looks like, my background, my skills, my experience fit that description.
Perfect. You know what's tough? You know what's tough for me is, and you guys only just met me, but my personality has been a great benefit for me in my life, in my business, because I'm not afraid to call anyone. I've walked into people's offices with a box of donuts, old school style, and sit down. But in terms of conveying that to someone, that's where I'm finding the difficulty. How do you really get to know someone unless you're sitting in front of them? And maybe I'm overthinking it. Just keep doing what I'm doing and I'll be okay.
Yeah, you're really not going to get to know someone, in an interview. You're going to meet them, you're
Right.
going to this conversation, but I mean, you're really not going to get to know them unless you get the job, and then over time you'll really get to know who this person is. So, yeah.
Growing up in business, I've always, what's the term? I eat what I kill. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
Eat what you kill. So I'm a hunter and I go out and get business. So I want one of these jobs, and I've even discussed it. I'm going to discuss it more today. I'd like a salary, but tell me what, and you said it earlier, what's the high end on this? I want to know what the highest, the most successful salesperson in your organization, because that's where I want to be. Are those good questions to ask?
Well, it's similar to, what does success look like, right? That's the question.
Right, exactly. All right, so good. I've been doing it then.
Yeah, what's the most successful salesperson, and what, I mean, why would you say that person is the most successful salesperson? And then again, they're going to say, because they do X, they do Y, they do Z. And if you have X, Y, Z in your skills and your experience, then you're in a good position to respond and say, I'm really qualified for this position based on what you just said. Oh,
Perfect. Thank you.
yeah. Other thoughts, other comments?
Is your name Rick Katz?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I just said, is this your LinkedIn profile I put in the chat? I sent you a direct message.
Let me check. I'm sorry. Chat.
Then maybe we can talk offline because I'm in sales. I'm probably a little older than you, so maybe I can give you some suggestions.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be
Perfect. I just got your. Which one did I get? I have Vern's. Is this your Kelly? You're Kelly, right, Kelly?
Yeah. We can talk offline. I'm
Yes,
not on
perfect.
camera.
Thank you.
I'm not on camera today because I don't have my makeup on.
No, but I could see your fully made up portrait. You look great.
Yeah.
Hey, Kelly, I'm glad you're going to connect. As I was hearing him speak, I was immediately thinking of Kelly, your job search, and there seems to be a lot of parallels there.
Yeah. You're in Atlanta.
Kelly's the best.
I assume you're in Atlanta, right? Are you in Atlanta?
I'm in Connecticut.
Okay, it says Atlanta. That's not. I guess you're not the right Rick Katz then. Okay.
No, there's a lot of us. I'm the only Rick Katz that's not a doctor, which my wife isn't thrilled about.
Where do you live?
Woodbridge, right near Bob Hill. Yeah, Woodbridge, Connecticut.
So is it? So if I look for you on LinkedIn, is it Rich or Richard?
It's Richard.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
That's okay. And I'll send you my link if you don't get it. You'll find me there.
Kelly, actually, Gina mentioned it too, and what Kelly's doing. Us recruiters or headhunters, I'll put it this way. Well, you don't even have to be a headhunter to do this, but that type of networking right there. I know Vern and Shira talk about it on the call a lot. As a recruiter, I do leads that way as well, and I know as a salesperson, you do this too, Rick and Kelly as well. So if I'm a headhunter looking for, if I have a candidate, say I have a sales candidate, And I presented him at different places where he's had different interviews, and he's gotten feedback saying, you know, yeah, we liked you, but you know, your salary's a little too high, but we really do like you. But we just can't meet that salary. So the minute that that candidate walks away, that job's still open. And if I have a second candidate, that's one place that I know is hiring. And so by connecting with fellow friends, and this is just a job search thing I'm throwing out there to everyone, it's another way to go about the job search. Again, as opposed to just applying, if you have friends in your industry and they're looking for jobs as well, especially if they've already been, you know, interviewed or rejected and gotten that rejection email, if nothing else, they can tell you who's hired. So if Deborah goes for, you know, 8 interviews or has 8 jobs and she hears back from them, you know, thank you, but no thank you, or she doesn't hear back at all, and you do the same thing, and you're like, well, who can I apply to? Who's hiring out here? Well, that's 8 with Deborah, 4 with Gina, 6 with Kelly, 2 with Rick. You've now just expanded, and you know who's still hiring. And that's where I present those candidates, and I present my other candidates who are in that same, you know, industry or that same job title. To all of those. It just uncovers, I use those candidates to uncover who's hiring or who has opportunities. I may call them and just say, you know, hey, I see I had a candidate apply with you guys, or I heard that you guys are looking for someone for XYZ. Are you still looking? And they may say, yeah, this search has been, you know, crazy. We can't find anyone. Well, ding, ding for me. I got a perfect candidate for you. Boom. And so with your friends, you know, in your network, when you're talking to them, ask him too, you know, hey, where have you interviewed and been rejected from, and would you mind sharing that information? Maybe that job could be right for me. And then you can ask them, because they've interviewed, well, hey, what kind of questions do they ask? How's the hiring manager? How did the interview go? And you can get all of that intel, which increases your chances to step in, not blind, and maybe get a chance at an opportunity you didn't even know was out there. So
Right. Well, the problem I have, again, it's my age too, is a lot of my network is not looking for a job. Okay. Haven't looked for a job their whole life like me. You know, especially a lot of the politicians I know really well. I've actually had breakfast twice. I had with Jim Amon, who's a former Speaker of the House in Connecticut, actually ran for governor, and we've become really good friends. And a guy named Bill Finch, and I try to use the whole political spectrum. I don't stick with one side or the other. I don't talk politics. I'm right in the middle. That's the key. And he was the mayor of Bridgeport for 8 years, and we became really close, you know, not just colleagues in business. And, you know, I met with both of them. I'm kind of waiting patiently for them to get back to me. Now, they didn't get back to me. Now, the normal Rick would get on the phone and say, hey, you never got back to me. What's going on? When they don't get back to me, I get a little, maybe I shouldn't keep bothering them. What do you think about that? These are people that are close to it. If they can't come through for me, who's gonna?
Well, it could be they're, you know, super busy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or again, are you assessing the strength of the relationship correctly? You're saying these people are really close to me. These are people I've known a long time. If they are really what I refer to in contacts count as trust-based, mutually beneficial relationships, then they should be getting back to you. Maybe not right away.
I'm going to reach out to them.
They should be getting back to you.
They're mostly, and then they're mostly people I met, Vern, through my business. You know, City of Bridgeport, for instance, was one of my biggest accounts I ever had, and I got it maybe the first 6 months I started my business, and it's because I met the mayor at a family barbecue. He didn't know how to open clams, and I taught him. And my wife's like, "That's the mayor. That's the mayor." It's crazy. That's how a lot of my business is, like old school for my dad. How it comes. I get more business in a social scene than I do in a business scene, and it's just how I roll. And I have a lot of value. I just need to convey it to the right person, if you will.
Well, the people that know you, like you, and trust you are the people that, you know, should be the strongest connections in your network. And again, if you reach out to them, you know, now there may be a good reason they're not getting right back to you. You know, you never know what's going on in someone else's life. They could be on vacation, they could be sick, they could be having a
Right.
family crisis, they could be, you know, just overwhelmed at work. You know, so don't prejudge too early. If it goes on over
I'm
time,
not.
if it goes on over
Yeah.
time, then there is something, you know, something's amiss somewhere. In fact, I share with you a personal situation that I'm dealing with right now. I was very, very good friends with a chief financial officer at one of the organizations I worked with. This is in the Washington, D.C. area. And actually, when I had some consulting opportunities back in Washington, I stayed at his home with he and his wife. We've been out to dinner, my wife and I, and them have been out to dinner. I did career coaching for his daughter. And all of a sudden, it's been radio silence for like a while. And I've sent a few emails and no response. And I'm sitting here today saying, should I try one more time? You know, Mark, did I do something wrong? If so, tell me, right? What has happened here? But again, I don't know what's going on in Mark's life, right? So there could be a reason
Correct.
for it, but it's one of those few times in my life where I really had a close. We were Red Sox fans together. We went to ball games together. I mean, this was somebody who I really considered a friend, a colleague, and I'm perplexed as to why he's not getting back to me. But sometimes that happens. So, and then you just
No, we all go through that. We all go through that.
move on. So,
Yeah. Okay.
Hey,
Thank you.
Vern, this may be related or not related, but since it happened again yesterday, twice, I have to say it. I don't do a lot of social media. Right now I have LinkedIn, and I think that's all I have. I may have some other one, but I deleted one of the big ones. Actually, I deleted my Facebook account about 2 weeks ago. It's something I've been thinking about because I wanted to maybe rebrand myself with some business launch things that I'm doing. And so I deleted my personal that I've had for over a decade. In the last 2 weeks, I've heard from more people than I heard from in the last, almost month or year. People are texting me, calling me, hey, I had a meme that I wanted to share, and then I saw you weren't there anymore. Hey, are you no longer on Facebook? These are people who weren't contacting me before. So I'm saying that to say that sometimes we think it's like, hey, who can I call? Who can I reach out to? But that's why I talk about these side doors all the time, because everybody's on the interstate. Sometimes it's that exit that nobody knows about that you should go off and just see what's going on in that other exit, because everybody's looking for jobs in the same places. So I say, go check out and spend your time too, instead of, I don't know, I need to stop being such a non-apply guy, but I say, you've got 3 balls, 3 pitches, and that's all you have, and it's over. Use those pitches wisely, and spend more time thinking strategically. Okay, I've sown seeds all over the place. Everybody else is doing it this way. What's another way that people aren't doing it that I could do? Where can I bump into this person? Or instead of, job, hey man, how are you? Let's catch up at some point, and don't even mention job at all. And it's somehow things just happen to pop up where that person also says, hey, they're not asking me to look for a job. If now I'm not getting back to them because I don't want to let them down. They've got all these expectations. Now they're thinking I want to talk jobs all the time. So I just thought it was really crazy that I deleted it. And in 2 weeks, I've heard from more people that I hadn't heard from in a year, some of them a year and a half or so. So
no.
sometimes
I saw your TikTok video last night, man. It was awesome. No, here's the thing. And like Gino's happy was helpful in getting me your LinkedIn profile as a request. So there's a lady that's on the call, has a call every Thursday at 7:45. About 500 people are on the call,
Yeah.
Pat Romatelli, it's Bulletproof Your Career. And she talked about a couple weeks ago, your network, you need to cultivate your network. When you reach out to these people, don't say, hey, I'm looking for a job on transition. Hey, I want to catch up with you. It's been a long time, just sit and chat and all that stuff, and just talk to them, and then find out maybe how you can help them out. Oh, what are you doing nowadays, Rick? Well, I'm actually looking for a job. Oh, let me see what I can do. But instead of asking, hey, I'm looking for a job, because you know what, everyone's getting bombarded and all that stuff, unless you know the person really, really well. But you really just gotta cultivate that network and just let them know what's going on and all that stuff, and just be a friend. And then they'll say, hey, how can I help you? And but you want to see,
Yeah, I appreciate.
first. Yeah.
See, a lot of the people I've reached out to, and I'm just talking to you guys, I start thinking of these things that, might be a stumbling block, is that a lot of these people I've reached out to, I've done business with them. I've done huge projects at their factory or their hospital or their city. And, now all of a sudden, and I haven't told anybody that I sold the business, unless they ask. I'm still involved. If they ask me a question, and even though it's not my account anymore, I still help them.
Yeah.
I'm still in contact with my ex-partners on a daily basis because we still work on things that, we had going when I left, if you will.
Yeah.
So I think it's when I call somebody, I think I run into Rick Katz looking for a job, because they know I've always owned my own company and been independent. And, everybody looks at somebody that owns a company like they're the gazillionaire in town,
Yeah, but
it's not always the case. You're just working hard and making a good living.
Yeah, but you're looking in the past. Now you got to look at the forward. The forward is you're looking.
I got you.
So, but
Yes.
you don't want to come around desperate and all that stuff. So that's just my take.
No.
Well, and
Yeah.
Kelly, bulletproof your career that is just, I think a lot of us have been on those calls, and they've been really, really great, to the point that there would be hundreds and hundreds of followers. And Kelly, you're really good at cultivating relationships through happy anniversary, happy birthday, and things like that.
Right.
In one of these calls, in one of these calls, I learned about something called a pain letter. So what that is you reach out to that colleague that you did that project with, but you say something to the effect of, hey, I noticed that you guys lost this contract. Here's an article that, might help in figuring out new RFPs that are coming out. So it's a way of engaging, and instead of asking for help, you're helping to solve a problem that they have, which I thought was a more approachable way to network and to try to get to people to respond to you. So yeah, pain letter.
Right.
Well, all of that is again fundamental to, what I say all the time about contacts count. Networking conversations are not about talking and taking. Networking conversations should be about teaching and giving. And the logic is, again, the more I teach Gina about who I am and what I'm all about, the greater likelihood she can help me. The more I learn about Gina, the greater likelihood I can give back to her. And so as from Kelly's, what Kelly just said, you approach conversations from, hey, how are you? What's new with you? What's going on? And you're trying to learn as much as you can about the other person, so you can send them an article or recommend something or, help them in some way. And then typically, well, what's going on with you, Vern? And then you have the opportunity to talk about what's going on in your life, whether it's looking for a job or whether it's a new project you're on or it's a vacation you're about to take, whatever you say at that point. And it's a much more collegial conversation than, as soon as someone thinks you're trying to use them or you're just calling them to get something from them, that's a big turnoff. That doesn't work.
Yeah. Most of these people that I've recommended to, I've been very successful with over the years, and they understand that. It's just not, one of the gentlemen that's, real has been helpful, and he's met me a few times, and he's a lobbyist. Okay. So, I said, yeah, I could be a lobbyist. We find out what a lobbyist does. So, I'm kind of waiting to hear back with him. And in my energy company, and I'm still involved in it, we use him and he uses us to get huge deals. Everybody. So it's my biggest problem is I'm still linked into my old world, but I need a job. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like people don't understand when I call them and say, hey, I'm looking to change my career. What do you mean you're looking to change your career? That's what I'm in.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Well, when they say, you know, what do you mean you're, you know, looking for a job? That's when you need to tell them, you know, they're asking you that question. Tell them, you know, that's where you can share with them a lot of what you shared on this call. Don't go on and on and on. You've got to, you know, make it a concise statement. But you know, here's where I am in my life, and here's what I really want to do at this point in my life. Yeah.
100% agree. And you actually said it a second ago, and it's what I was talking about earlier. Representing yourself, rebranding yourself, because if you're still your old self, well, when you reach out to those 100 people, they're going to say, oh, here's Rick, the salesman, or here's Rick, who he's looking to sell. And I remember how aggressive Rick was. And yeah, he's probably looking, we don't need that. So that's probably what he's reaching out for. They haven't even had the conversation. So it's the conversation that you want. And to Vern's point and everyone else, it's going to come up. When you're just talking, yeah, you know, how's this, how the family's doing? This is what's going on. And you're asking more questions about how they're doing. Most people, when you ask them and show that interest and that empathy and that sympathy, before the call is over, most of them are going to go, hey, what about you? What are you doing these days? And that's where you've done this. We're talking to a salesperson, putting together a new pitch. You're selling a new product this time, and it's you, as opposed to the things you've sold before in the past. So you have to put together not so much even you and your accomplishments, but to get them to wrap their brain around. And I've seen this as a recruiter, because I have to present candidates who were this thing for 9 years, and now they're making a shift. So I have to now tell that story, you know, hey, I'm not giving you his resume yet. Let me just tell you about him. He's done this for 9 years, but now he wants to move to a different industry. Well, if I just send the old resume, they're going to swat it away quickly. And it happens all the time. What I have to do, and that's more like cover letter talk, where I'm now saying, listen, forget the resume. Here's where I'm at in life right now. I did that, but now I'm transitioning and I'm making a pivot. Yeah, I used to own businesses, but I'm making a pivot in my life. And then people they can grasp it a little better. But yeah, when they know you as the old you, and your LinkedIn is still the old you, and everything that you have out there for branding is the old you, they're going to see you as the old you. So you have to rebrand yourself as well.
Yeah, my LinkedIn is the new me.
Okay.
Okay.
I really, I worked hard on that as the new me. Again, when you're in a business for so many years, most of
Like
that's like Bob. Okay. And you just become friendly. It's business, but it's friendly. And so I guess I have to make that transition with those people to say, all right, forget the old days. I need your help. Who do you know? What can I, and I've had these conversations, and maybe I just have to be more patient. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. Any last questions before we wrap up for today? All right.
I just want to say thank you for allowing me to hear this, and it actually made me feel better.
Okay, that's good. That
Yes.
whatever we can do to help, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, and actually made me feel better, and I appreciate it. And everyone, good luck with your situations.
All right.
I don't know if Keith was trying to.
Yeah, I think Keith's trying to say something.
No, this is a good conversation. I relate to a lot of this questions today, so appreciate it.
Okay, Keith. Good to hear from you.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Bye now.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Have a good weekend.